You're doomed if you stay here. This place is cursed. Cursed! It's got a death curse.
Who are you? What do you want? Get out of here, man!
I've got to warn you. You're doomed if you stay. Go! Go! You're doomed! You're all doomed!
Jason is my son, and today is his
You could have dinner with us. My brother makes good head cheese. Candyman, I get cheese. Candyman. Candyman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hello and welcome to Two Guys, One Necronomicon, a weekly horror review podcast where we talk about all things horror. We talk about your cult classics to your modern day trash, and today is sadly the end of the Summer Bash Bash.
It's so tragic.
It is. But we're going out with a bang because we are reviewing the ultimate summer camp movie, Friday the 13th.
I mean, we've been hyping it up for weeks. We've been talking about it probably every week, comparing every movie we've done to Friday the 13th. So now, it has arrived. We are your hosts, Brian Hotboy LaGrassa and Shane, I'm in a mood, Smith.
Okay. I'll allow it. Pretty soon I think I'm going to start giving out the nicknames though.
Well, you came walking up in here with a pout on your face.
Did I?
You looked really, really out of sorts.
No. It could be because I've been going through the Camp Blood series.
Really?
Yeah.
How many are there? 8 or 9?
I think there's 9. Yeah, I think it's 9 movies. And each one is worse than the next.
How many are you through?
7.
Wow, you're almost there.
Yeah, but I've been going out of order because I've been going off what I could find.
Good question. Which is the best of the Camp Blood series?
Oh, Camp Blood 1.
Really?
Yeah, it's not even close.
Well, it had a mind bender of an ending.
Yeah. It is an ending I can almost guarantee you have never seen before in another movie.
That's a fact.
But we're not here to talk about Camp Blood.
Might just be. That is a nickname for Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes. Which is a camp in New Jersey where we are from.
Yeah, I think it's in Hardwick.
I believe so.
I think it's called Camp Nobi Bosco. And apparently it still operates as a summer camp.
What was that name?
Nobi Bosco? Did I get that right?
Maybe. I thought you said Nova Scotia.
Yeah. It's in Canada. So this is cool because we're from Jersey, and you see like some scenes that are in Jersey, and they show like when Annie gets out of the man's car, you see the cemetery backdrop, and it says Hope, New Jersey. It's pretty cool to see a movie filmed where you live.
You know, not many movies like you get to see around our area, like northern Jersey, stuff like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this movie, I liked it.
Yeah.
As I alluded to.
Yeah, I mean, we're not pulling any punches here. This is a classic, and obviously we are going to be objective when reviewing it. At least I hope that you are, Shane. I'm feeling you will.
I am always objective.
It's a very entertaining movie. It is deeply flawed.
My ratings aren't very objective. It's very how much I like the movie.
If you have never seen an episode of Two Guys, One Necronomicon, I will just let you know that we impart a rating system. After we give you a summary synopsis with offbeat scene-by-scene analysis, our rating system is 1 spooky Steven Seagal to 10 spooky Steven Seagals. 1 spooky Steven Seagal is a disaster. Just an absolute pile of dog crap.
I actually feel like 10 spooky Steven Seagals is also a pile of crap.
5 spooky Steven Seagals is like an average movie that you may want to return to, like Under Siege.
Yeah, okay. I
And
like that movie, though.
10 spooky Steven Seagals is an absolute firecracker. Of a film.
Like Black Dawn.
It's like a 2 spooky Stevens.
Why? I gotta ask. Why did we go on a Steven Seagal rating system for this one?
I don't know. Probably that ponytail he started rocking in his career.
I just love that, like, he just teaches karate now to, like, police officers and stuff.
Does he really?
He used to. I don't know if he does. Now he's, like, what, like 75?
Yeah, he's old, and they put they cake makeup on him. He's still doing movies, right? I think I saw him in some recent...
Wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if there's, like, a B action movie, Steven Seagal's probably just in the background somewhere, hiding. He's had an interesting career.
Yeah, so Shane, I'm just going to throw out a couple of announcements like we do every week.
Let me hear them.
Want to give a shout out to Danny D. String from Green Knuckle Material. Great and groovy tunes for our podcast. I want to thank Jen Bell, who's been a great resource for us with her in-depth research, and as well as Sauce McGavin. Now, if you know Sauce McGavin, he was on a recent episode of ours titled Sleepaway Camp.
Real banger of an episode.
Yeah, so if you like that episode, please just make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. He is a Pokemon YouTuber, and I'm pretty sure he is the internet Pokemon champion.
Yes. That's what I've heard.
That's a lofty title to maintain, but...
It is. I mean, is that title held under 24/7 rules? Can someone just roll him up in a parking lot and take the title? I don't know.
I don't know. But if you'd like to see him back on the show, please let us know. Give him a subscribe, listen to his videos, and get back to us, because there is a Sleepaway Camp 2 and a Sleepaway Camp 3.
Yes, which I definitely want to talk about. Another thing, I don't think we mentioned yet, we've officially created an Instagram page.
It's kind of hot.
It's pretty hot.
I'll also be honest, I have no idea how to use it. I'm so bad with social media marketing. It's crazy.
And the best part is, I'm worse, which is why I'm letting you handle it. But yes, it is at 2guys1necro. Very easy to find. Yeah,
so please, just give us a follow on there. We'd love to hear from you and see what you have to say and just talk some horror movies.
Because that's pretty much all we love to do.
Spooky Steven Seagals and horror movies for life. And with that being said...
Let's jump right into the spooky pit.
Oh, you beat me to it, you son of a bitch!
I am so bought in to the idea of just jumping into the spooky pit.
Well, here we go. The summary of this movie is camp counselors are hunted by an unknown killer at a summer campground while trying to reopen. Little do they know, the summer camp was the stage of a child drowning and a double murder.
And the bad water in 62.
Oh god, it was so bad.
Reminds me of that one time we went camping and there was flesh-eating algae in the lake and we couldn't swim in it.
That'll get you.
Yeah, and then Chris Christie closed the parks and we had to go home.
You deserved it, though.
I guess I did.
You guys slept at all that night?
No, not at all. It was terrible.
Oh, come on.
But we're here to talk about Camp Crystal Lake and some interesting facts about Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes, we are. Camp Crystal Lake is very interesting. So you say this is really about Camp Crystal Lake, but let's talk about the Lake Bottom murders. You hear about those?
No, I have not.
So Jen made an interesting connection, and I had never heard of this before, but apparently in Finland, I think it's Espoo, Finland.
I'll allow it.
There's a lake where there was 4 campers. I think they were teenagers, and 3 of them died by an unknown assailant, stabbed and just brutalized. And it brings an interesting comparison to what happens at Camp Crystal Lake in Friday.
Yeah. There's definitely stabbings and dead teenagers.
Yeah, for sure. Are you into Finnish deathcore?
I can't say I am.
Because that's where Children of Bottom got their name from.
I do know one of their songs because of Rock Band.
The Lake Bottom Murders.
So okay. That honestly seems like something a death metal band would do. Just take a song and name it after a bunch of murders.
It's pretty dark.
Yeah. Alright, let's throw on some Job for a Cowboy and get into more interesting facts.
So before we even delve into the movie, I definitely want to just give you an overview of Friday the 13th, the day. And I'm not talking about just like, because there's a superstition behind Friday the 13th. There's also a superstition behind the number 13.
Let me hear about it. Because I only know superstitions about the number 23.
We are not an urban legend podcast, so I'm not going to go into the number 13.
Except that time in the future where we're going to probably review Urban Legend.
Maybe. But we are reviewing Friday the 13th, so I will talk about the day, Friday the 13th, as we are recording our 13th episode.
Conspiracy? Probably.
Completely unplanned.
That's what he wants you to think.
There's no record of superstition for Friday the 13th, the day, that exists prior to the 1800s, but there are certain examples that exist, I guess, throughout history, and some lore. In Norse mythology, at a dinner for 12 gods in Valhalla, Loki showed up uninvited, making himself the 13th guest to a dinner party of 12. And then he somehow manipulated Hor, who was a blind god, to shoot the invulnerable Balder with a mistletoed arrow.
Okay.
Something that should not have ever happened.
I mean, none of that made sense to me, but...
You're not brushed up on your Norse?
No. I mean, one of the person's names was Hor, I think.
Hor.
Hor?
You're a dirty whore.
Okay.
At the Last Supper, Jesus and his disciples made up 12 people. You see the Last Supper, there's 13 people in the picture. there's a belief that Judas, who betrayed him, was the 13th guest to arrive.
But what you're going to tell me is actually Jason Voorhees.
Yes.
I knew it. Conspiracy confirmed.
And the most popular theory, the one that people allude to, is the start, but there's still no specific trace to it, is from October 13th, 1307, when Philip IV arrested and burned hundreds of Knights Templar members throughout France. That was on a Friday.
The 13th.
Correct.
Yeah, that would be a very unlucky day for those Knights of the Templar.
Also, too, there was also this group of 13. I forgot what they were called, but they would meet. I remember reading about this a long time ago. They would, meet, once in a while, and they would just discuss the superstition. But they'd meet, once a month, but they wouldn't meet, on a Friday. So it kind of kills the idea, so I don't really want to go too much into it.
Yeah.
But just to sum it up, they would meet, and they would test all these superstitions, like step on a crack, and,
Oh, they would see
glass.
if it would break your mother's back.
Nice. And they would record if any of them died. Popular people were, involved in this, too, at the time.
So they, walked under ladders or opened an umbrella inside.
Climbed up your butthole. All the things you wouldn't normally do in traditional society. Things you would deem taboo.
Wow. I didn't know that was one of the bad superstitions, climbing up a butthole.
See what I'm doing right now?
Yeah, what are you doing right now?
I'm kind of dancing. I'm pumped. I'm psyched for this episode.
For those of you who don't know, Friday the 13th is available to watch on Amazon Prime.
So let's get into it. A sound effect you constantly hear in this film.
Yeah. The music is awesome.
It is.
I don't just mean the music, the sounds like that, the woods.
Well, I'm not going to get into the phonetics of the sound,
mm-hmm.
but people were saying that they always thought it was a ch, and it's actually a. And the reason why is because after all ongoing debate, the composer Robert Manfredini kind of came out and he said one of the reasons for this sound is because if you hear towards the end of the movie, you hear kind of Jason possess his mother.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps talking through her. And she constantly says, kill her mommy, kill mommy.
Yeah, see, that makes a lot of sense. But I've been saying ch-ch-ch for forever.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think it sounds like ch-ch-ch.
Yeah, so I'm going to say the composer is wrong.
I think maybe he had it ch-ch-ch for a while. Maybe all through the in there.
Yeah, we could go with that.
Right.
Conspiracy confirmed.
I'm not going to get into the phonetics. I'm not an asshole.
I guess I am, because I got into it.
Okay, so this movie was directed by Sean S. Cunningham. It is obviously a horror and a thriller.
Never would have guessed.
Would you consider this the ultimate slasher movie, given its mystique? I would say no.
No, well, the ultimate slasher movie is probably Halloween.
Interesting. That would probably be my second.
What's number one?
I'm going to go Texas. Well, here, you know what? You might be right, because, Halloween is Halloween's the Hollywood slasher flick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When you impart the music, the composition, the way it's filmed. But when I watch Texas, and I watched it for the first time honestly a month ago, it felt very raw.
Oh, it's a very raw
backwoods killer. I don't know. Those are my thoughts, but I mean, it would probably be one of these, right? One of these three. These are just some of the most iconic horror franchises in general.
Yeah, well, Friday the 13th is my favorite, start to finish horror franchise.
Very fun.
That has, multiple films, because, even though the later entries get pretty crappy, Jason X is always going to be a guilty pleasure movie. It's a trash movie, but I love watching Jason X. It's a better bad movie than, the bad Halloween movies towards the end. Or, the bad Nightmare on Elm Street movies towards the end.
I'm with you on that. And it's probably one of the best horror franchises, just like you said, from start to finish. And, there's a lot of ones that came later on that were really impressive, but also in stretches just kind of flopped. Hellraiser is a great example.
Oh, my God.
The first few were, really good.
Yeah.
I actually would put Hellraiser 1 over Friday the 13th.
Yeah, no, Hellraiser 1's a better movie than Friday the 13th.
I don't know if I put it over Halloween.
As a series, it's not even close, because after Hellraiser 3, they're so bad.
They get bad, yeah. Hellraiser 4 is probably... I know you've seen even further than I have.
I've seen all of them. I've seen all 10 now, I think there are.
Wow. So I've seen up to 6, and 4 was horrible. So if they get worse...
Yeah,
man.
All right, so just a quick Hellraiser breakdown. 5 gets better than 4, because 4 is really bad. And then it's just a decline. Where you get to 9, 9's barely a movie.
Wow.
It's also the first movie that... They have a different guy playing Pinhead, and that is just terrible. Absolutely terrible. But we're not here to talk about Hellraiser. We're here to talk about Friday the 13th.
That's absolutely correct, Shane. So the film opens up and it's Camp Crystal Lake in 1958. The rain is really fitting.
That's
right
what,
now.
yeah, it is. If you notice in the background, we're not sure if it'll make it in, but it's storming. So it is perfect for this review because there is a storm that brews at the end of the movie.
Going to really set the ambiance.
Exactly.
There's a POV shot of someone walking into a cabin, and obviously counselors are singing. They're singing the Hallelujah song, which we've heard throughout this. I feel like this whole summer series, the same song.
Milk and honey on the other side. Hallelujah. I do love that every one of these has at least one, like, camp singing song.
Yeah, but that's interrupted by
It is.
that sound effect that just keeps going throughout this film. And that's also repeated a lot in The Final Girls, which just makes me, like, love The Final Girls so much. Like, you watch one of these movies, and you appreciate the other ones, because there's elements of Friday the 13th that you see in The Burning, and Madman, and all these movies, you see elements of this
movie, yeah.
this movie.
Out of the horror ones, Friday was my favorite. Out of the movies we reviewed, since Final Girls isn't a horror, it was my favorite of the 5.
Well, Final Girls is my favorite. I think I mentioned it before.
Yeah, you like Sleepaway Camp
I like
more.
Sleepaway Camp, but it's like not... It's close, because I do like this movie a lot. But you'll get to hear my opinions in the review section of this episode. 2 of the counselors start leaving the circle.
Yeah, well, 2 counselors always have to sneak off to do a little hanky-panky.
Little coitus in the...
Yeah, a little coitus.
Little coitus in an abandoned cabin. But they won't be making this love alone.
That is true.
And then I like it because the killer is an unknown assailant, which is so great because I love the build up to like knowing who the killer is.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie, you actually don't know until the very end. Like there's hints dropped, but you don't know until the end. So it's like you have no idea who this is. But it's not like for nothing because it's built up throughout the movie.
Yeah, no, it's a good build and you don't feel like cheated or let down when the reveal of who the killer is shown because it's like, it's so well done and like the person who does it acts the part so well, so it's like, okay.
Exactly. So, in like all these other movies, you know, you get the POV shot where they go up on someone and they're like, oh, you! So in this case...
Sleepaway Camp every scene.
So the killer kind of goes up on them and you see their facial reactions and they're like, we weren't doing anything. And
Promise.
just immediately guts them.
And then the girl just kind of like backs up, kind of like stumbles back, and instead of running, just kind of like motions around and then just also gets stabbed.
I do like it though because if I'm not mistaken, you see like a freeze frame on her screaming face.
Yeah.
So it's a cool transition into
Present day.
present day. It's Friday, June 13th, and Annie, who's a hitchhiker, she starts asking a dog for directions to Camp Crystal Lake.
I absolutely love this scene. She's like, hey, excuse me, dog, do you know which way it is to Camp Crystal Lake? Oh, no, you don't? And she talks to the dog like the dog is somehow psychically answering her.
She gets no results from the dog. She probably had better luck in a local coffee shop? Cafe?
It looks like a little, like, gas station cafe, essentially.
Or going gas cafe. And I love when she walks in. This is classic small town America. She walks in and everybody looks at her like she just does not belong there.
Which she didn't.
No, I guess not. When asked, how far is it to Camp Crystal Lake, the lady behind the counter finally, after a long pause, says, it's about 20 miles. But she's like unaware that they're opening the camp back up because as far as she knows, it's closed.
Because someone even says, you talking about Camp Blood?
Yeah. They tell her that, you know, there's no buses headed in that direction. But a man does offer her to take her a ride over there. He's headed over there in that general vicinity, so he'll drop her off. But he has some things to say about this place. So.
He has some choice words. I think his name was Enos.
That sounds Greek. Maybe. I
thought that's what I heard.
Mr. Enos and Annie leave the cafe. And they run into Shane's favorite character, Crazy Ralph.
Now, if you watch any movie from like the later 90s to like literally today, there's always that guy who says, you don't want to go down that road.
No, it's like, you don't want to do this or you don't want to do that. There's always something
you don't want to do. And Crazy, when we reviewed Cabin in the Woods, they literally put a character in there that is this character Ralph.
The Harbinger.
Exactly.
Like the Harbinger of doom. The foresayer of what's to come if they proceed on their planned destination.
Because Ralph's whole thing is he's Crazy Ralph who says, Camp Blood, eh? That place's got a death curse.
They think he's just some senile old coot that just talks about urban legends all the time.
But he knows the truth of Camp Blood, Camp Crystal Lake, and he warns her.
He's like, you're going to Camp Blood, ain't ya?
He's so over the top.
Got a death curse!
I love this character, man.
They kind of really just shrug him off. Mr. Enos...
Yeah. I think that was his name. I'm honestly not sure now the more you're saying it.
He's got a truck, and Annie has to get into the truck, but it's so high that Enos has to, like, pick her up by her ass and let her in. Our review is going to be trifled with things you can do in the 80s that you will not be able to get away with in 2020. This is one of them. Really hoisting a girl by her ass and throwing her into a truck.
Yeah, he really gets in there. Now, the choice things he does have to say, he's like, Camp Crystal Lake, eh? I didn't know the Christies were reopening that place. He's like, you hear about the boy drowning in 57? The 2 camp counselors killed in 58? The water went bad in 62.
Nice.
All the fires?
All the fires, yeah.
I don't know why I started to give him like a New York accent midway through, but yeah.
And you think about it, despite all of his warnings and him telling her she's as dumb as rocks, she still doesn't believe him.
This scene's actually pretty funny, because he starts talking about her like she's not sitting there. He's like, dumb kids, dumb teenagers, dumb girl.
It's so funny because he's talking, but he's like so loud, he's like at the top of his lungs.
Yeah.
He's like, you're dumb as rocks!
She's like, you're just old.
Yeah, so she thinks like some old fart just like rattling off. So he eventually does drop her off.
Yeah, if this movie was made today, she would have just been like, okay, boomer.
Pretty much.
That's exactly what it made me think of.
So she gets dropped off, and he waves her off, like, look at a smile on his face, like, good day, stay alive.
He doesn't even bring her all the way to the camp.
No, he doesn't even bring her close. This is where you see the Hope, New Jersey sign, and yeah, so this is where also the scene will transition to Jack, Marcy, and Ned. Yes. As they're passing up through the country, and I gotta point out 2 silos in the backdrop.
So, you always have to point out a silo when you're on a cross-country trip, even a cross-state trip. You just want to say, hey, there's one silo, one for the silo bank.
Exactly. People, you're doing it wrong if you go on a roadie, especially through the country, and you're ignoring the beautiful silo. You gotta call them out for what they are. You see a couple of silo, you put them on your silo counter.
And if you're really feeling it, you start calling out windmills. It's a good road game for you to play.
I saw some silos, and I called them out. And you know what I also saw? Kevin Bacon.
Yes. He's looking young.
He's looking young. He's looking hot. And I'd also like to point out that he's actually, at this point in time, not really a famous actor.
No.
Apparently the most famous person in this movie was Bing Crosby, who was recently deceased son. Harry Crosby plays Billy.
I didn't even know that. There's someone else that's famous, but we'll get to that.
We will.
Kevin Bacon, you might not even know this, but is this like his first movie or like...
It's either his first or second. It's early. And not a lot of people in this movie, not a lot of the actors, really did much after this. It's like a classic slasher. Like, they did this movie and that was... I know Marcy did like 2 movies.
The main character that we're going to meet soon, Alice.
Adrienne King.
Yeah, she pretty much stopped acting, right? Because of the stalker situation that arose from the movie?
Yeah, so the protagonist was basically stalked after the film was made. She actually acted in the second movie. She dies.
Well, yeah, in 5 minutes into the movie.
Maybe that's when the stalker stops. They don't need to stalk her anymore.
Yeah,
Alice is dead.
It's a very weird situation, stalking, but that's not what we're talking about. The kids arrive at the camp. They meet Steve Christie.
Steve Christie has taken over the camp, and they are... Basically, the idea of this movie is they are fixing it up for summer. Yeah. Opening the summer, they have the camp counselors are coming to help fix it up.
And this is one of those scenarios, again, where we're talking about, it's a summer camp movie without any kids. There's no kids in this entire movie.
No, they're older. Definitely. Yeah. So I don't feel uncomfortable talking about anything passionate.
Which we found out, Judy in Sleepaway Camp was like 24 when filming that movie.
She was definitely not a kid.
Yeah, we did not know that when we were talking about that movie. So the kids all meet, Alice and Steve Christie. Cut to Alice and Christy fixing up the drains on one of the cabins.
That is true, Shane.
Your usual conversation, but Alice says she doesn't want to be there. She wants to go home.
She's thinking about going back to California. And Steve's like, no, you can't do that. I love your drawings. You gotta stay.
He's like, your drawings are so nice. You're so pretty.
So awkward.
But they kind of allude that they had a thing together.
Yeah.
Kind of like...
It's like alluded, but you don't really know.
Yeah, you don't know for sure. But then he even says, he's like, I want you to stay. And he's like, look, if you don't change your mind in a week, I'll even pay your bus fare.
The proposition.
And then he awkwardly, like, brushes her hair to the side, and she just kind of looks at him like, stop touching me. It was like a very awkward, like...
Very awkward. She's like, thanks?
Yeah, like... It's like, you didn't need to do that.
Fucking excuse me?
Then we cut to...
Brenda. She's setting up the archery.
In one of the craziest scenes of the entire movie.
Yeah, because the one character who was driving with Kevin Bacon and Marcy, I'm never going to call him Jack. I'm just going to call him Kevin Bacon. This is what we do here on Two Guys with Necronomicon. We see someone that we know and we love, and we're just going to call them by how we know them.
Yeah, it's Kevin Bacon.
She's setting up these archery targets, and Ned, apparently an absolute marksman, aims up his shot and just misses her, but hits the target like a bullseye.
Yeah, and she's like, are you crazy? In my head, I was saying the same thing, because, like, he shot an arrow at her. If he just misses a little...
What a psychopath.
Yeah, and Ned is kind of a psychopath.
He's creepy. You like him for some reason. I think he's a little dick.
No, he's kind of funny. He's definitely a dick. He's like your classic, like, old school comic relief, where the comic is just being a dick.
Like, who brought this guy?
Well, he's a camp counselor, so he probably just applied for the job.
He was probably the original, because I feel like if he wasn't, nobody would go with him.
Yeah. It reminds me of, like, there's a character, I think, in the fourth Friday called Shelley, and everyone kind of hates him because he just does the same thing where he just pulls these jokes, and everyone's just like, Shelley, whereas this one, they're always like, Nettie.
Yeah.
So, kind of parallel between two of the Friday movies there.
So, transitioning back to Annie, the hitchhiker that will one day make it to Camp Crystal Lake.
Well, she had to hitchhike twice now, so...
Yeah, she's getting picked up for another ride. She's kind of skeptical. You can't see the driver.
Yeah, she gets into a green Jeep.
She gets in a green Jeep, and green Jeep is driving about 100 miles an hour, and they pass up the Camp Crystal Lake sign, and Annie definitely calls it out.
Yeah, well, she's like, you passed my stop. You can tell how nervous she's getting.
She's like, I think we better stop.
This is how, like, everyone gets killed by a serial killer?
But pedal to the metal, Shane boy, because they're not stopping.
No. Annie does, like, kind of the smart thing, and, well... It was smart, the execution was poor. She jumps out of the car, but she dives head first.
Into a ginormous rock?
Yeah. But the best part is, she dove head first and hurt her ankle.
I know. That car was going, like, at least 70 miles an hour. She would have been severely hurt.
Probably dead or concussed, because, like I said, she dove head first.
But slight scratch to her ankle. She's fine, everybody.
Well, she won't be for long, though, because she's running through the woods, and she is being chased by the camera.
We can confirm it's a limp, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a limp. It's definitely a limp.
She is getting chased by the camera. That's a good call out, because there's a POV of just her running and her expressions. And if I'm not mistaken, she's, like, looking everywhere for help. She takes a look upwards, and you just see the person show up, slicing her throat.
Yes. Also, want to shout out, because I do it every time now we talk about it, shout out to Tom Savini, once again, for the special effects in this movie.
He does do... I don't know if he does special effects. I think he does makeup.
Makeup, it's all, yeah.
His makeup.
That's, you know, all the blood and stuff like that. His specialty. It's always good when he's at the helm.
So now, Annie was supposed to be the cook. The camp is without their chef.
So the meals are going to suck.
They're going to be terrible. Speaking of the opposite of terrible, the scene shifts to the counselors near the docks, and you get a shot of Kevin Bacon in a Speedo.
He pulls the Speedo off well.
Very well.
The girls are obviously all in their bikinis. There's one girl in the water. They're laying down the docks.
And somebody is watching them.
Yes. One of the girls even thinks she sees someone from far away.
It's Brenda, and it's amazing how this killer can be in two places at the same time.
Well, Annie was close to the camp, though, so she could have just been on the other side of the woods.
Also, the timing could be probably not a linear story.
No, because, it easily could be jumping 2 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So.
Which is what I assumed when watching this. And then Brenda tells Marcy vitamin C will help reduce the nitrates or something like that.
That's what my doctor always told me.
Of course. Like you mentioned, she spots something in the woods, and a second later, Ned gives her the spook of her life from in the water.
Ned has joined the spooky pit.
In any case, while everybody's on the beach, they leave the water. Ned is in the water alone, and he starts to scream, and he's like appearing to struggle to stay afloat. And everybody starts going in there. You see freaking Kevin Bacon with his Olympic level dive.
Okay, no. See, this is where you're wrong, because I think it's Marcy or Brenda, one of the two. They both dive at the same time. The girls' dive is pretty spectacular. Kevin Bacon just belly flops into the water. It is atrocious.
Oh, come on.
It's the worst dive I've ever seen.
But they bring in the boats, they bring in the divers, they bring everything to rescue Ned, and they do. And they bring him onto the boat. Brenda delivers a little mouth-to-mouth. But if it wasn't painfully obvious, you know that he was faking it.
He does what we would like to call a sandlot.
A sandlot.
Which Sandlot technically took from this movie, but he's faking it, and he goes in for the kiss. Things you could do in the 80s, but not today.
No. Kind of a common theme.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought it up again, because you mentioned it earlier, so every time one of those comes up, I'll mention it. And she is not having it. And it's another one where everyone's like, Nettie.
So in her cabin, Alice notices a large black snake on the floor. She calls for Bill, who comes running with a machete. Club Dread reference. The rest of the crew immediately comes in to help, including Kevin Bacon with a shovel.
You basically got a black mamba slithering around down there.
They look under the bed and it's there, but it's like at the deep other end of the bed. And Alice is like, telling Bill to, like, call the snake like he's a charm.
Charm, yeah. And I think it's, like, Kevin Bacon who, like, just dives onto the bed like that's going to accomplish something. But it does, because the snake leaves, and then Bill cuts it into, like, 3 pieces.
He takes a couple of good chops at it. They basically wreck the entire cabin in doing this.
Yeah. Now, was that a real snake they kill? I wonder.
I have no idea. My guess would be no, but
Yeah.
I have no idea. Then again, Cannibal Holocaust was around this time, right?
It was. That's why I was curious if they could still, like, technically kill, like, an animal like that or not.
Yeah.
I would hope they didn't, but you never know.
So then scene shifts. Brenda and Marcy are calling it a walk by, and then they start to run into Ned, who is acting like a Native American for some reason.
Things you could do in the 80s, but you can't do today. Just ask the Redskins. Technically the Washington football team now.
Is that what they're calling themselves?
They don't have a name yet. So right now they're technically just called the Washington football team.
I think they should leave that.
Call themselves the Washington Washingtons. But yeah, so he's literally running around just going, "Ooh!" Also just in his underwear and a headdress.
Yeah, he's going the full Monty on the Native Americans.
It's wild. And then a cop pulls up.
Shane,
Please explain to me.
why he's trying to conjure up the dead burial ground of Native Americans resting under Camp Crystal Lake.
I have no idea. Like, I have no idea. It's not a prank. I don't even know if he knew people were there. I just think it was something he was gonna do regardless if anyone was watching. He just wanted to get in his underwear, put on his finest Native American headdress, and just...
And it's perfect because a cop stops
Yeah.
them.
And the cop's like, "You're on drugs."
Dude, why are you in your underwear, you creep?
He's like, "You guys smoking a little weed up here?"
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I would assume that too, if I saw that.
Kevin Bacon walks up to him. Kevin Bacon just infatuated with his bike, I guess.
Yeah, things you could do in the 80s, but can't do today.
Walk up to a cop
And just touch his bike and, like, mess around with the knobs.
So the cop assumes Kevin Bacon's on drugs. He's like, you just got off a spaceship or something? Colombian gold, man, grass hash, the weed, dig it?
Yeah, you just throw
Throwing a couple
everything.
of diggits. I feel like I'm watching the Warriors.
Can you dig it?
So the officer tells him he's looking for Crazy Ralph, who's gone missing. He was headed their way on his bike.
But they have not seen Crazy Ralph.
No, they haven't.
When the cop leaves, he's facing the wrong way, so he has to drive towards the lake first, then spin around and go back up the path. It looks like he's wobbling the whole time, and it almost looks like he's about to fall off his bike, and it just cuts.
So you're saying he's never rode a bike?
I really don't think this guy's ever drove a motorcycle, and they're like, "Do your best."
So you don't think he's a real cop?
No.
Shame on you to question the
No.
authenticity of this great Sean S. Cunningham production.
No, like, they just don't have a guy who knows how to drive a bike. Or it was the choppiest path I've ever seen someone drive on, because he literally looks like he's gonna tip over every time he hits the gas. But continue about this pantry talk we're about to have.
One thing's for sure, Alice is now in the kitchen preparing for a meal because someone has to cook around here.
Okay.
She goes into the pantry because that's where you always need your supplies when you're cooking. You need some sugar, you go to the pantry. You need some tea, you go to the pantry. You need Crazy Ralph, you go to the pantry because he's there and he's telling her she's doomed.
Yes. She technically tells him, "You're all doomed."
Yeah, he's like, God sent me.
It's true. God is his messenger.
Yeah. So he continues to repeat these things like they're doomed, go, and then he kind of just walks outside and like leaves on his bike. But before leaving, he tells them all in a long stretch sentence that they're doomed.
And it's just so great. He's like the beginning of that stereotypical character, like I said. I just love seeing like the origins of it. Like,
yeah. I like he says it and then just saunters off on his bicycle.
he rides his bike better than that cop rode his motorcycle.
That's a fact. Back at the cabin, Alice notices the bulb doesn't work, and Brenda, Jack, and Bill need to fix it. The emergency generator. Apparently, Jack knows how to do that, and so he does, and in no time he gets it up and running, the lights go back on. And then there's the alone scene with Jack and Marcy.
Is this the one where like Ned's kind of like watching them from afar?
So they're like dancing on the docks or
Yeah.
like making out. Obviously, the killer is watching them at this point because there's another POV shot. And then you just see Ned watching them. What is this guy's purpose in the group? Is it to just like whistle, tell horribly unfunny jokes, and just get in everybody's way?
Pretty much. Like I said, he's literally just supposed to be the comic relief, but he's over the top. And you won't have to worry about that much longer because he goes into a cabin and you never see him again.
Thank God. But there's a storm that's brewing.
Yes.
It's picking up. Marcy tells Jack about her dreams.
Yeah, she needs to see a therapist?
Something, because let me describe the dream. The rain would sound like rocks when it falls, but it's actually blood. and the blood would wash away like in little rivers. But then the trance of reminiscing about that creepy-ass dream is over, and then she tells him the sound in her dream would stop. Running from the storm, Jack and Marcy go and dip into their cabin.
Which is the same cabin that Ned had gone into. But you don't see Ned in there.
And it's soaked and wet out there. They're getting rained on. They gotta go in for safe harbor. How safe it is, that's up for debate. Nothing will get someone more unsoaked than passionate lovemaking, Shane. And Jack, Kevin Bacon, he's a real romantic. He lights a bedside candle as Marcy takes off her pants and lies in bed.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little hot in here.
His shirt's coming right off, too. He's joining her in there.
It's getting even
See
hotter.
where this is going. Turn up the passion meter.
Hell yeah. Especially because there's a good Kevin Bacon butt squeeze coming up.
Don't even get me started on the butt squeeze, Shane. Scene transitions to the other cabin where Alice tells Brenda and Billy, who is playing a guitar, that Jack and Marcy, they're gonna get soaked out there.
Yeah, but they have a good idea for what to do in their cabin.
What are they gonna do?
They're going to play Monopoly, but they're not going to play your grandmother's Monopoly. They're going to play Strip Monopoly.
It's Brenda's favorite game.
Yeah, because the idea is instead of paying rent, you just take off an article of clothing.
You pay rent in clothes.
Yeah, and I kind of wish that's how rent worked in real life.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, nah, they'd be like, hey, the rent's due, and I just, like, take my shirt off for, like, the day.
You're gonna love the way Brenda plays Strip Monopoly. She'll be the shoe.
And then she goes and she's like, who took my shoe? Because I guess she couldn't find the piece.
Yeah.
I'm the thimble.
Nice.
That's the piece I always used.
That's fair.
What were you? You seem like the Scotty Dog type of guy.
No.
Oh, then what piece did you use?
Honestly, the shoe.
You also used the shoe.
Yes, you would be a thimble.
I am sitting next to a Brenda. I knew it.
Oh my gosh. Scene cuts back to Jack and Marcy, and they are having some lemonade.
Is that what the kids are calling it?
Maybe. And this is definitely going to be our passion bump for this episode here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's...
The butt squeeze.
It's marginally close. And there's, like Shane mentioned, obviously they're making out and stuff. And then the camera pans down, and there's just a cut shot of Marcy just giving Jack's butt a very, very deep squeeze.
Passion bump! Passion bump! Passion bump!
My G. It's like crunching lemons. It's beautiful. And I would consider this, when you climax in a passionate scene, I would consider that the passion peak, because you know you're never going to exceed the peak. You're hitting the summit.
Okay.
So this is our passion peak of our passion bump.
All right. We just made that up now. Mike G would be proud.
Mike G is a cock sucker. As they are finishing up, the camera pans to the top bunk, and Ned is there, but his throat is cut, and his eyes are staring wide open into the ether.
So who do you like better, Ned or Mike G?
Mike G's cool. There's something about dead Ned, though.
That you like?
I really do. I mean, I'll take Mike because I've known him for such a long time.
Gotcha. All right.
Oh, man, that guy really sucks an egg.
So yeah, as Ned's throat is slit, you'll also now notice there's blood on the pillow that Marcy and Jack have been laying on.
That's a bloody pillow.
They don't notice it though, because it is dark and it's also to the side they wouldn't see. You get to see Marcy's boob, the blood on the pillow, and then Marcy says she has to go pee.
Yeah, so she's gonna go to the bathroom. While she's in the bathroom, let's go back to a little strip Monopoly, Shane.
Yeah, tell us what's happening.
Billy's apparently losing his boots. He needs to get more beer if the game's gonna keep going like this, and he does. Because he's getting hammered by Baltic Avenue.
Yeah. You know what? I'm an experienced Monopoly player. Some call me a pro. I've been playing for so long. And if there's one thing I know about Monopoly, it's you always buy Baltic, because it's always going to cash in the most money.
I guess.
What do you mean you guess? You cannot question this.
I think you just lied to everybody.
I would never lie.
The worst way to play Monopoly. I see what your strategy is. This kid's a king strip Monopoly player because he's a liar. You never trust Shane. He has ulterior motives.
This isn't true. I am a very honest person, and I'm telling you, buy Baltic, because I'm not going to buy Boardwalk and Park Place.
I once played a game of Monopoly with Shane where he won, and the reason why he won is because he beat the hell out of every person playing to a bloody pulp.
That's a good idea for a horror movie.
He beat them senseless.
Not my style. I just beat them by making them pay me their shoes and rent.
Jack is then shown in bed lighting a cigarette when blood drips on his forehead.
They finally missed the pillow and hit him right in the forehead.
He looks up and then, I don't know what it is, but it's a very thin blade.
I assumed it was an arrow. Like, it looks like an arrowhead goes through his neck.
So like an arrow comes up.
From under the bed.
Up and under the bed and right through his throat. It's pretty cool.
Because you see, a hand kind of comes and holds his forehead down, and then you see the arrow come up and the blood come out. And once again, Tom Savini, good job.
He nails it again. Guy was destined for greatness.
And then, I actually like this little thing. You see Marcy in the outhouse.
The Marcy entrapment scene.
It's this little part. She's just sitting there, and she reads 40 Yards to the Outhouse by Willie Make It. And I'm like, ha! That's kind of clever. I enjoyed that little. It's like a little pun. It's like something I would come up with.
From the it's like written on the
wall, I assumed.
Yeah. So she's gonna go wash her hands. She starts hearing noises. She thinks it's her friend. She starts calling out because she thinks, they're playing a joke on her. Yeah. Walks around the house, trying to uncover areas where she thinks they could possibly be hiding.
Best part is, they were playing a joke on her, and the ending punchline is an axe in the face.
You do see an axe come just down on her. She screams. I like how the camera looks away as the contact is made, and it kind of goes back on her face, and you just see an axe splitting her face.
Best way to do it when you don't have the budget to actually show the axe go in, show the motion, cut, and then show what it actually looks like. As long as you're showing the after effect of what it looks like, you've done your job. You don't need to see the whole
happened so fast, and it honestly works.
Exactly.
Again, we're going back to strip Monopoly.
Because the clothes are coming off.
Alice is good at this game, but it's time to lose some clothes. Brenda, off with your shirt. Billy, who's got no clothes at this point, he starts getting a little cocky. And then she reminds him why he's 2 steps from Pacific Avenue and Skin City.
She really wants him to come down from his high. She's like, you ain't winning now. And
just as Alice, she's ripping the game, she starts to take off her shirt. Time to pay up.
Yeah, but she's the final girl. So Brenda's gotta go close her window instead. And the game has to be put on hold.
Yeah, we're gonna postpone the game. There's a storm. And apparently, her place is getting rocked. Or at least she thinks it is. So she's gonna go over there and shut her windows.
Because she's like my grandpa. I can't remember if she shut her window.
Shout out to Pa. Scene shifts to Steve at a diner who's talking to the lady that works at the diner, Sandy. And Sandy is a real sweetheart. They have some good banter.
Yeah, my favorite part is that his whole meal was $2.75.
I agree. He pays her a little extra, gives her a good tip.
Steve's a good guy when he's not awkwardly stroking your hair.
I love when he asks her, he's like, what do I owe you? She's like, a night on the town.
And he's like,
Sandy, possibly 30 years his senior, is getting very bold.
She shoots her shot. Can't fault her for that.
So he leaves, and I'm guessing he was prepared for the storm because he's wearing a poncho.
He was.
I love when people are prepared for things, whether they make sense or not. Brenda's back at the bathroom in the girls' cabin, and she's brushing her teeth. Shane never does that. She starts to hear noises from the bathroom stalls.
That's not true.
And as she's not looking, as the viewer, you see kind of this hand pull back the curtain to one of the stalls. Mm-hmm. Someone's in there. She shoots one more glance over there. Nothing's there. She shrugs it off like nothing's going on.
Yeah, and she is actually perfectly fine.
You do see You did that. I did it and then you did it.
Yeah, I was using the different syllables? What was the word we were using?
I was using phonetics.
Phonetics, that's it. Cutting
back to Steve, he appears to be stalled at the side of the... You see the stall, bathroom...
Okay, so yeah.
But it's really nothing to do with the bathroom.
Stall, because you want the scenes to carry over into each other. It was so genius, Bri.
Stop talking. He appears to be stalled at the side of the road as a cop car pulls up, and he gets a ride with the cop.
What I like about this scene, different cop.
It is a different cop.
Because I hate when movies have one cop for the entire town, and that cop is fucking everywhere.
I know.
At least it was a different cop. So it's like, okay, this town has multiple cops, and it's not stupid.
And the killer is now peering in at Brenda from outside her cabin, because this killer loves the rain.
Absolutely loves it. Just stands out there all night.
And the industry standard in Friday the 13th camp counseling is bringing a candle close to your bed, which he does with a book and gets ready to relax for the night. All of a sudden, she starts to hear a little boy scream, "Help me!"
You did that shockingly good.
"Help me!"
It's actually starting to creep me out. Please stop.
She tries to go back to the book she's reading, but she keeps hearing, "Help me!"
I'm gonna leave.
Brenda takes a flashlight and heads outside, saying, "Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?" Shout out to Black Christmas!
A movie we will be reviewing.
Hell yeah.
In December. But yes, she ends up at the archery range. And
She set him up.
The lights shoot on. She screams.
See, something like this would scare the shit out of me. Because you know those are not supposed to be turned on. You know no one's turning those things on.
Oh, yeah.
So
Who's doing archery in the rain?
And these bright-ass lights just come over her. And she's just, like, blinded by the lights and also freaked out.
It's crazy. It would, like you said, like, that's like a moment that's, like, truly terrifying.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like a put yourself into her shoes.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, if I'm, like, there and that happens, you know it's like, oh, shit, something bad's about to happen.
Billy then walks into the cabin, startling Alice, and says the generator is working okay.
Well, Billy's the generator guy.
She's like, I believe I heard a scream, and it sounded like Brenda, and I think somebody turned on the lights of the archery range.
Everything she said is extremely accurate to what had just happened. So the two of them decide to go look for Brenda.
Yeah, but Alice asked for permission because it's a man's world.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
That's an 80s joke, forgive me. They go to the girl's cabin and notice nobody's there, except a bloody axe resting on the pillow under the blankets like it's tucked in.
It was very cute.
It's very homey. They also check the bathrooms, and there's nobody there, so they need to call somebody. They make a smart movie. They go to the office, but the office is locked, Shane.
I love how they're smart enough to know, like, since everyone's missing, something bad is going on,
Yeah.
and they don't just be like, oh, it's locked.
It's
They
smart.
break open the window, and I like that.
This is the reverse of Mad Men, where it's kind of like, oh, let's just keep waiting. This is
They
like,
go right into action.
and she knows where the spare key is, and the spare key is a wooden plank through the glass.
I really like that part, because there's a couple parts coming up that I don't like, and it takes away from the movie. But they find out none of the phones are working in there. They're out of luck. They have no one to call.
Everything's dead. Even the car is not starting.
So that's when they have to go back to the generator. But before we go to that generator, we cut back to Christy and the police officer.
And then the cop says it. He speaks it into existence. It's bad enough it's Friday the 13th, and there's a full moon, too. I'm like, they're fucking all dead. It's over. They have no shot.
Yeah. Well, I love how the cops even like crime goes up. Robberies, rapes, murders, burglary, everything.
The statistician.
He's giving you the numbers, and the full moon numbers are terrible.
They're not good. Then the cop gets a call, and he has to leave. So he has to let Steve out in the rain to walk the rest of the way.
Really bad accident by exit 14 or something like that.
Nice how you picked that up. On the walkie. Shane was going to be a cop.
I thought about it for a while.
Thank God you're not.
Seriously, I'd be in like Seattle beating innocent people.
Steve starts jogging, and there are all sorts of animals calling this time of night. He hears some really weird hoots, some grunts.
Mhm.
Everything's out in the woods. And he actually runs into somebody near the Camp Crystal Lake sign who flashes a light in his face.
Yeah.
Seems like an innocent person.
And Steve seems to recognize this person almost.
Oh, hi! What are you doing out in this mess?
And then, done.
He walks right up to this person, and a well-timed loud sound effect goes off as a blade crushes him in the gut.
Rest in peace, Steve. So now we're down to the final two characters. We have Alice and we have Billy.
Back at the cabin, Billy lights up 2 lanterns because there's no such thing as too much portably contained fire. Alice is trying to get some sleep as Billy goes to check if they have gas.
Exactly, because like you said earlier, it's a man's world and he's got to find the gas.
As he checks for gas in another building, the camera actually does like a little bit of a fake out, I noticed. Because it makes you think like the audience like it's closing in on Billy, like the killer's coming
Yeah.
on his back. But there's nothing there.
Nothing at all. Alice wakes up from her nap screaming, Bill! Bill! What kind of dreams was she having?
Not only that, how do you fall asleep in a blouse and jeans?
Well, I've seen you fall asleep, not in a blouse and jeans, but in weird positions.
You bring me up all the time.
Well, you have a tendency to, like, fall asleep awkwardly, like, with your legs, like, on a desk and, like, you're leaning back in a plastic chair. It's crazy.
Shane is a coward at 2 guys, 1 necro.
I don't know what that has to do with
Okay.
you sleeping weird.
She's got all these uncomfortable clothes.
Yeah,
She's wearing but I think she's even wearing a belt with a large buckle, if I'm not mistaken. She's got more rings than dings. It's crazy.
Was that a food joke?
I don't know.
Ring dings? Now you're making me hungry.
Well, you know what she's about to do? She's about to make some coffee. So you know she's boiling up some water for it.
What kind of coffee is she making? Savarin.
Yeah.
which I don't think is a brand that exists anymore.
I have no idea, but she's getting impatient because Billy's not back yet.
This scene's a little unnecessary because she makes coffee for like 6 minutes uninterrupted with nothing happening.
I think the point is she's getting agitated and nervous, so she's like, you see her like fidgeting, she's slapping the thing. But I hear you're saying it's like kind of. Like,
I just felt this is the one scene I felt like
it's a fast-paced movie
and it
things
dragged.
are happening quick, and this is like kind of out of place.
Especially since it's towards the end of the movie, I felt like it dragged a little bit.
So she takes some initiative. She's gonna go look for Bill. She calls for him. And she notices his red poncho in the generator room where he last was, but there's no Bill.
Or is there? Because she closes the door and Billy has been arrowed to the door.
That is correct. An arrow through his eye in a tremendously bloody display. I think his throat is severed.
Yeah.
And he's like bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic, like his body right now.
So, cool thing about this scene, the makeup crew, Tom Savini and co., whoever you want to award the pleasure to, used a fake blood formula along with a ingredient called Photo Flow, which apparently is supposed to make the blood soak into your clothes and make it look kind of like more realistic, and it definitely does.
Yeah.
Problem is, that ingredient gets into his eye, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he has to get treatment in the hospital because he goes like temporarily blind.
Wow, that's ooh.
Some effed up shit.
Yeah, that sucks. Just for filming a Friday movie to go temporarily blind. That's rough.
Friday the 13th.
It's a death curse. So obviously she is in a panic. So she goes back to the cabin and she does a very strange thing because she doesn't know where the killer is. Yet she ties a rope from the ceiling to the door, then throws everything in front of the door. But what if the killer's already in the cabin? There's also windows everywhere.
She's very good at breaking windows. Maybe she breaks the window. That's the only way she'd escape.
You don't have to worry about that though, because when she goes back into coffee room, Brenda gets thrown through the window. And her body, she's just dead, covered in rope. Like,
there's no faking it. She's dead.
She was looking for a weapon, I believe.
Yes.
When Brenda gets thrown through. Right now she has a bat and a mini...
Some kind of kitchen tool. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, alright. It looks like a small pitchfork, like for a mini devil. Maybe it's like a little hot dog skewer? I don't know. Like
maybe a little mini skewer, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call it. I'm not a chef.
Me neither. The chef's not here.
She's dead.
She then spots a car approaching from the window, unties the rope on the doorknob that she was making for like a minute.
Very unnecessary.
And she notices a woman getting out of the car. How peculiar.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Voorhees.
An old friend of the Christies. She actually runs up and hugs her. Alice is terrified. She needs to be rescued.
Yeah, Mrs. Voorhees seems very warm and welcoming and friendly.
Oh, she's like, I'll take care of you. I used to work for the Christies. And Alice, at this point, is like, she's like crying hysterically. She's like, everybody's dead. And she's trying to calm her down with her pleasantries and warmness.
Yeah. But Mrs. Voorhees, she starts to kind of go off on a little tangent.
I love everything about like the last 15 minutes of this movie, and it starts with her presence on the screen.
Yeah.
She's like, it's just this place and this storm. That's why you're upset. He's like discounting how like upset and she's crying. And, like, pretty much everything she just said. And her story constantly changes like on a 180 in like a solid 30 seconds.
It's incredible. Fun fact about the girl who plays Mrs. Voorhees. She did this role to buy a new car. It's the only reason she's in this movie. She would never have taken the script and the role to play Mrs. Voorhees unless she didn't need a new car. And that's the only reason she's in the movie.
That's crazy. I think I read somewhere that she was not like into feature films.
No, she was more like a theater.
Yeah. They were looking at like, I think like Oscar noms for the role.
Oh, they were. Yeah.
And I think it's very important. Even if the role was only for like 15 minutes of screen time, it's very important to get a strong female presence in the role.
Yeah, and she's great. Her greatness comes when she starts telling like kind of her story about Jason, her son, and how today is his birthday. She tells how he drowned in the lake in 1957. The counselors were supposed to be looking after him, but they were out making love. She was a cook at the camp.
I love it how she paces the whole scene. And as we learn, these counselors were having sex while her boy drowned.
He wasn't a very good swimmer.
No, he wasn't. Sex does kill, as we learn from the final girls.
Oh, yeah.
And it kills again in this film, or at least leads to someone getting.
And it will kill in every horror film till the end of time.
Apparently, people love stroking Alice's hair because she's doing a little bit of stroking Alice's hair. We get more of that.
I guess she's got good hair to stroke.
She tells Alice that they can go now. And Alice is like, we should probably wait for Mr. Christie to come back. And Mrs. Voorhees starts looking off into space. She's like envisioning the drowning of her son. And she actually starts audibly saying, "Help, mommy, help." And like, it's her voice, but she's imitating her son. The dialect does change a bit. "I am Jason. I am gonna come and help you, even though you're dead."
And that's kind of when she starts going full crazy and says how she can't let them reopen the camp after what happened to her son, pretty much. Like, and that's when she attacks Alice with a knife. Obviously, everyone knows in Friday the 13th movies, Jason is the killer. So, in this first one, it's his mother.
Screenwriter planned it that way.
Yeah.
Jason was never supposed to be, like, overarching villain of this series. He was supposed to be the actual, the sympathetic
Character.
kid who drowned. It was
Yes.
the mother that was the...
She's technically the villain. It's just this movie did so well with the low budget. It made so much money. You can't do a sequel with Pamela Voorhees. That's why they brought Jason around. And obviously now everyone associates Friday the 13th with nothing but Jason, and they forget about Mrs. Voorhees, who was a great villain in the first movie.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is Friday the 13th was originally intended to be like this anthology series where each and every movie would be independent and separate from the previous. And I definitely think they got it right kicking the first movie of the series off with Mrs. Voorhees as the antagonist.
Especially now, because now you'll start to see, like, she basically turns into Jason, because she starts talking to herself as Jason, where she's like, "Kill her, mommy, kill her." You probably do the voice better than me.
But the thing is, like, now it's like her voice imitating her son, or her son speaking through
Through
her.
her,
So it's like,
yeah.
is it a dual personality? She's like channeling her dead son.
Yeah.
So there's like a supernatural mystique about Jason, which I really like. It's different from like some of the other more straightforward serial killers you get in Black Christmas, which is just like some guy that's either insane or maybe you think like there's an evil there, but
Which Black Christmas are we talking about? There's like 17 of them now.
74.
Okay. Not the 2006 one, or whatever it is?
No, definitely not the one made last year.
I cannot wait to talk about that one.
We all can't.
But yeah, so, like you were saying, like, it's a different kind of killer than someone from, like, the Black Christmas
you're
one.
getting a more supernatural presence here. And I think that's really important when you're thinking about these slasher films. Because you could think, like, oh, where's it coming from? Is the guy just self-generating this hate? Is it from his background? Like, where's the evil coming from? Is it a supernatural evil? Is it more of your upbringing kind of evil? This is more of a revenge, but supernaturally revenge evil.
Yeah, it's definitely revenge. I don't know if it's supernatural. It's more so, I would say it's like the loss of self. Like, she's just becoming Jason in a way.
No,
like,
I'm not talking about for her. I'm talking
okay.
for Jason.
Oh, well, yeah, it definitely becomes supernatural with Jason, especially in the sequels. Where they do a weird thing where, like, it's not really a spoiler. At the end of the movie, you're going to see Kid Jason.
Yeah.
And then every movie, Jason's like 35. Like,
From this small, frail boy they're making him out to be that couldn't swim, he becomes this hulking monster.
yeah, where like Kane Hodder starts playing him in the later sequels. It's not at all like what Jason was intended to be from the first movie. Also, I mean, he doesn't even get his hockey mask till the third one.
That's true. That is true.
Because he's not in the first one. The second one, he wears a potato sack.
And I'll be honest with you, I love the way this movie's set up without Jason as the killer in the first movie.
No, it's great. Going back to the actual movie now, Alice is running. She runs into Dead Steve.
Dead Steve, he just starts hanging from a tree. Like, as if
Just-
on cue, she runs right into him, falling down from a tree.
It's like the sleepaway camp one where the girl falls out of the shower the second
Exactly.
the camp guy gets there. It's like on a timer.
Funny how it works like that.
Yeah. We cut back to Mrs. Voorhees with the, "Kill her, mommy. Kill her." Like, I don't do it well. I'm sorry, everyone.
No,
but
you're doing a good job, Shane. Don't let anybody wear you down, you son of a bitch.
Alice then goes into the gun rack room. The problem is none of the guns have ammo.
No, and I'm actually surprised there's even a locked drawer for the ammo, because I'm watching an 80s movie, I want there to be ammo on the desk. I'm looking for big guns everywhere.
Yeah. I'm just thinking tons of guns, tons of fish.
Fish and guns.
Exactly.
Amen, brother.
Fish and guns. But there isn't fish, there is guns, but there's no ammo. You see it, like, literally, like, padlock chained into the desk.
She's trying to bash in the lock with the hilt of her gun. Not working.
Doesn't work. So obviously, Mrs. Voorhees finds her. She starts the generator up instantly.
Instantaneously. And then she kind of traps Alice against a wall and just starts pelting her with her hands. Like some seriously good slaps here.
Before those slaps, though, when she first starts going at Alice, there's like all those guns. There's a desk full of stuff. She takes the ball of yarn and throws it at her.
I mean,
The softest item that was available. And then, yeah, like you said, she just starts wailing on Alice's face with slaps.
yeah, and she tosses her down, slaps her more, and I think she throws her through a table, like
Yes.
Spine Buster TLC style.
It's awesome. Now, this is always one of my problems with these ending scenes, is this will be the second time Alice stops the attack of Mrs. Voorhees, and instead of, like, doing, like, a Zombieland double tap to, like, make sure she's not getting up, she just leaves. This is, like, the second time now she's, like, beat her with an item, but didn't finish her and just left
That's a
to
good
go
point.
hide somewhere else.
She whacks her across the face with a pipe. Actually, I think to interrupt her from slapping her, because Mrs. Voorhees is like on top of her, I think she kicks her right in the party bringer, and then she takes the pipe and whacks her in the face.
Yeah.
Kind of knocking her out, but not really.
No,
gets up.
because she gets up. So Alice goes to hide in Ralph's pantry.
It's the ultimate hiding spot. Ralphie did it for about, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah, now I would actually love to have a spin-off movie where we just see Ralph's day to day.
Can we get a rewrite?
Yes! In this rewrite, when she goes to hide in the pantry, Ralph is in there again. I told you, it's a death curse.
This is the story of Ralph being lost in Hardwick, New Jersey for 2 hours.
And the cop that picks him up every week to arrest him, they just go and sack the rest of the town.
Chronicling the events, he actually counts and inventories the entire pantry, provides a list, tells them they're doomed, goes on his bike, and just takes a cycle around the town.
The next kids that come back, he's in the pantry. You don't have enough hot dog buns. You're all doomed.
Oh my god. Awful.
So Pamela Voorhees, I think her first name's Pamela, right?
I think it's Pam.
Pam, okay. She finds Alice in the pantry, obviously, because that's where everyone hides. She probably knew Crazy Ralph was in there earlier. She kind of, like, does The Shining, where she breaks off, like, part of it and kind of, like, looks through.
She definitely cracks her way in there.
And then she Looney Tunes her. Alice hits her with a frying pan.
Oh yeah. It was a pot? It was a pan?
It might have been a pot. I thought it was
A pan is smaller, right? Like a pot is deeper.
Yeah, a pot would definitely be deeper.
Yeah, we're gonna go pan then.
Yeah.
Pan.
This is the first time we see a little blood, too, come out of the back of, like...
Ms. Voorhees?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's bleeding on the floor. It's basically like Alice beating the shit out of Mrs. Voorhees
But
for a little while.
This is, once again, what? Just finish her. She's down.
Never finishes her.
Yeah,
Kinda
she
keeps
runs
getting back
away,
up.
and now she tries to hide in the boat by the docks.
Yep, hide in the boat. And this is cool. She's like looking out into the water, and she's looking at her reflection. And then she sees the reflection of Mrs. Voorhees, and pulsating music kind of clicks back on. She quickly turns around and fights off an attempt on her life with a machete.
So we have a quick machete fight. You know, they wrestle, they fight. Then Miss Voorhees gets on top of Alice and starts, like, grabbing the back of her hair and, like, slamming her head into the sand.
Yeah, and they do like a little roly-poly. They kind of keep rolling on top of each other.
Yeah. And then Alice gets the machete and decapitates Mrs. Voorhees.
Very cool scene. She kind of breaks off of her as they're rolling. Slow motion ensues. Grabs the machete. And then, like, this sequence just quickly runs and chops off Mrs. Voorhees' head in, like, one motion. The body slowly falls. I love this scene because you kind of see her clenched hands.
Yeah, while the blood's kind of, like, coming out of her neck.
She's like trying to articulate something as she falls to her death.
The music that's playing, it's like the da da da. It's like, it's intense, it's awesome. With that said, though, the danger is over.
She takes a rowboat into the lake and decides to row herself out of Camp Crystal.
Not really. She just rows herself into the middle of the lake.
Pretty much the middle of the lake because she goes for a little nappy poo.
Yeah.
And you get this peaceful music, this serene music. It is over.
And you see 2 cars rolling in. Alice is waking up, her hands in the water. It looks like a position you would have fell asleep in. And she's starting to get up, and she's like, I'm safe. It's gonna be okay. And then, like, out of nowhere, child Jason jumps out of the lake, grabs her around the neck, and pulls her into the water.
Yeah, this is supposed to be Jason in the water for like over 30 years, and he looked the part.
Yeah. It was a child that was decayed, which is, you know, what it would
looked like human reef.
He kind of looked like the Toxic Avenger.
Pretty much.
Obviously, this was a dream. She wakes up in the hospital.
Or was it? She screams, no, no, in the hospital. And the doctor and the nurse are like, it's all over, it's all over. She then asks the cop if all her friends are dead. And he's like, oh, they're dead.
Yeah.
Definitely dead.
They're all dead. She's like, but did you find the little boy? And they're like, what little boy? She's like, the little boy that was in the lake. And she's like, there was no little boy. Well, then he's still out there. Cut to 9 sequels.
I like this. They just like kind of like zoom in on the water. Peaceful music plays.
Mm-hmm.
And Scene goes black. Credits roll. End movie. That is Friday the 13th. The mystique around this film, Shane. Is it worth the hype? Is it?
Yeah. I actually think it is.
I guess after reviewing, and at the end of this summer bash, reviewing all these movies, I like to just see, what's the best pieces of all of them. I think this movie definitely has the music.
Without a doubt.
Right? The kills, I'm going to say no. It's got some good kills.
Burning has the best kills.
Burning would probably be the one for the kills. There's some funny ones in the final girls, but I'm going to more relate to the horror slash.
Yeah, that's what I was going.
Burning for the kills. The killer, either this or the burning, probably. Then again, the ending Sleepaway Camp is pretty fucking sick. But you know it's her the whole time, so you just don't know what she's become.
The weakest killer by far is the final girls, but that movie's not about the killer.
It's not.
So,
yeah, it's about the
I would
archetype.
say... I honestly would give it to Mrs. Voorhees. She's only in the movie for 15 minutes, but she's so good in the 15 minutes of screen time she has.
Freaking rock star. She's awesome.
But my second, actually, Angela. Just for the reveal. When she, even though she's the killer the whole time, it's still her possum face. The whole thing is awesome. Madman Mars,
What about characters? I'm going Sleepaway Camp on the characters.
Probably gonna go Final Girls.
I'm not. Final Girls the one. It's kind of like we have it there. It's hard to
because it's not a horror movie. It's a comedy.
It's like a spoof of the horror movie. That's why I'm like.
So if I'm going characters, oh man, it's either The Burning or Sleepaway Camp. I like most of the characters in besides Glazer in The Burning because he was on a whole nother level of creepy.
Yeah.
But probably Sleepaway Camp. Ricky's so funny.
Yeah.
You fucking cocksucker motherfucker!
Yeah, and story would probably be either The Burning or Friday the 13th. Probably Friday the 13th, only because of the mystique and the build-up to the end.
What Friday also has going for it with story is just, it leads into so much more with the sequels, whereas The Burning was a standalone film. Yeah, I'm gonna go Friday with the story.
Yep.
So clearly Madman was the worst one we reviewed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, like you said, it was our first time watching it. We'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
It's not unwatchable.
Oh, no, definitely not. But out of the 5 movies we watched, it was easily the worst.
There's a lot of awkward scenes in that film,
Yeah.
So, this was a good one. For everything we just said, the music, the kills, even if you don't see anything, you don't really see kills, as they're happening, the point of impact, but you see the after effects, the Tom Savini masterwork.
Love it.
It's great. It's wonderful. The mystique, the story that there's going to be a sequel. They literally come out with a movie every year, and they're all fabulous. Friday the 13th for me is a 7 out of 10, but a strong 7 out of 10.
And for me, it is an 8 out of 10. It's one of my favorite of the original slasher movies, if not my favorite. So it does have its bad moments. The end, I feel like Alice could have ended that fight with Mrs. Voorhees a lot sooner.
Well, I mean, I guess it sets up the genre. You have all the pitfalls of a movie, oh wow, are you serious?
Yeah, why do you do that? Why didn't you do this?
For a slasher, it's that's the genre.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't take too much away from it. 8's a very strong rating, especially for a slasher movie. So
8 spooky Seagulls is very strong.
Yeah, I mean that's Machete 2 Seagal.
Good lord, Shane, we have been off the rails.
I honestly couldn't think of a good Seagal movie that quickly off the top of my head.
Everything we've said to this point has been completely sane until you throw out Machete 2
Seagal. Executive Decision.
Fair enough.
I think that's a good Seagal movie.
It's okay.
Under Siege 1.
One of the better ones.
Under Siege 2 is hilarious.
Movies are bad, man. Bad.
He does have good ones. Look what you've done by making a Seagal rating system.
He's this. Imagine Seagal as a slasher, though.
Seagal's the villain?
He'd be just fucking hacking away. Grandmaster of the Three Night Stand.
One of the best lines out of any Seagal movie.
I don't even know if I said it right.
He's the wizard of the Three Night Stand.
Fair enough.
Genius. You're giving it a 7. I'm giving it an 8. We could sit here and praise this movie, but if you've seen it, it's good. It's a classic.
My rating is, more than anything else, really just the entertainment value. It's just so there. It's never a bore. It's just entertaining from start to finish. It's smooth. It flows. Yeah. I mean, there's not much more to say than that, honestly. Great setup to future films. Obviously, the sequel and branding of this series is instantly set up.
How I view the Friday films is the first 4, I think, are legitimately really good movies. I think the 5th one takes a downslope.
Yeah.
The 6th one kind of comes back as a comedy, almost, and it's done very well. The 7th one, he fights Carrie. The 8th one, in Manhattan, isn't even Manhattan. I think they filmed most of the movie in, Vancouver.
Yeah, and then he goes to hell.
That movie fucking sucks. 9 is a trash barrel. And then, like I said, 10 is not great, but I love it. Like, I would give Jason X probably 7 Seagulls. That's completely objective, but I love that movie. It's not great, but I love it.
You're saying it's subjective.
Yeah, subjective, that's what it would be.
Yeah, objective means considering all things and taking emotion out of it.
It'd be subjective. You're right. Because I put emotion into all of my ratings.
That's fair.
I'm not a film critic. I'm just a guy who likes to watch movies.
I think I'm a film critic, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So it's like 90% critic, 10% me, but that 10% really becomes more.
I mean, we're technically film critics in the sense that we critique film
to the best of our ability.
Yeah, but like I didn't like study it. I just like watch it and I'm like, oh, that sucked ass, or that was awesome.
I'm not studying composition or anything like that, but
yeah.
We'll take what we get.
Exactly.
We'll work with it.
That's why we give a Seagal rating system here in the Spooky Pit.
That's true. At least for this episode.
Yeah, I never want to talk about the Seagal rating again. If anyone knows a horror movie with Steven Seagal and can suggest it to us, please let me know. Because I would love to review a Steven Seagal horror movie if that exists.
I think I would die.
We need it. If anyone knows it, message us on our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook, anything. Just let us know if there's
I will do this entire episode just slamming down hot dogs and food. So Shane, movie we're doing next week. We are done with the Summer Bash Bash, so...
Sad to say, but yes, the Summer Bash Bash is over.
Where are we going with this thing?
We got a lot of options. We've talked about a lot of movies. We have discussed doing Final Destination. We've discussed doing Slender Man. We've discussed doing Truth or Dare. We've discussed doing Insidious, American Mary. And after considering all of them, I'm going to say Truth or Dare will be our next film.
Oh, boy.
Yes. This is going to be an interesting one.
So now there's like more than one Truth or Dare, right? I think it's the Blumhouse Truth or Dare.
Yeah, this is the Lucy Hale actually went to movie theaters Truth or Dare movie.
Yeah, I think there's like another one on like Netflix or
yeah, that with the girl from Sharknado.
Is Truth or Dare like anywhere? I'm trying to think. I couldn't find it. I think I have it, so that's how I can watch it.
You bought it on Blu-ray, right? Because it's a great movie.
I bought it on Blu-ray because it's a movie.
I'm not sure if Truth or Dare is anywhere. I just assumed I was going to borrow your copy of the movie.
Yeah, you're going to borrow my copy. I just wanted to if anybody wanted to watch it, this is where it is. But I don't think it's anywhere, so...
Real quick, though, if you want to watch Friday the 13th, it is available on Amazon Prime.
I think the whole Friday series is on Amazon, or close to them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. I definitely saw like at least 5 of them on there, so...
Alright, well, I think that's all we have to say for today. Thanks for stopping by. Please make sure to check out our new Instagram. It's interesting. We don't know what we're doing, but we're excited.
Yeah, it's kind of hot because of how much we don't know what we're doing.
It's true.
We're just throwing shit up there and hoping people enjoy it.
Hoping it hits.
Yeah. So with that said, tune in next week where we take our spring break vacation to Mexico.
This is it for Two Guys, One Necronomicon. Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to visit our Twitter page, our Facebook page. Follow us, give us a like. We'd love to hear from you and talk horror movies.